All right, so hello dinos. Today we're going to be talking about Alexander Pope and his writings. Now, personally, Alexander Pope his writings are probably one of my favorite that we've looked at this semester. And if I can give one recommendation to people who are struggling to read him out loud. You know, it's slower, but it's a lot easier to see the picture that he's creating with his words if you read it out loud than if you just try and read the text. If you just try and read the text, you know, when I first did it, I was like, oh my God, this is so difficult to read. But when it comes out loud, it's more like this, yeah, it's like a beautiful semblance of words that create a fantastic picture. So let's get started on him, looking at good and evil. So what Pope is talking about is sort of the disappearance of self and fundamentally the idea of humility. You know, you're not better than anybody else. You're not worse than anyone else. You're just another person on this earth, and you're equal to everyone else. You know, to me, what I see in this is, let's picture a beautiful mosaic, and you are a tile. You are a blue tile in that mosaic, and you know, as that tile, you're sitting there, and you're like, God, you know, I should be the centerpiece of this mosaic. I'm the blue tile. I should be front and center. And well, Pope is saying, no, you're just a tile. You're just one itty bitty tile. And you're not the centerpiece or the focal point of the mosaic, but rather you are something that creates the whole mosaic. And you are part of this beautiful thing, but you are not the making of that beautiful thing. So Pope says, you know, of systems possible, if 'tis confessed, that wisdom infinite must form the best, where all must full or not coherent be, and all that rises, rise in due degree. Then, in scale of reasoning, life 'tis plain, there must be somewhere such a rank as man. And all the question, wrangle ever so long, is only this, if God has placed him wrong. Respecting man, whatever wrong we call, may must be right, as relative to all. In human works, though labored with of pain, 1,000 movements scarce one purpose gain. In God's one single can its ends produce, yet serves to second some other use. So man, who here seems principal alone, perhaps acts second to some sphere unknown, touches some wheel or verges to some goal. 'Tis but a part we see, but not the whole. You know, I just love Pope. I think that so much of what he's talking about here is the disappearance of self, and you know, you become an anonymous part of the human race, and that doesn't make your life any less valuable. It just means that you're part of a beautiful cosmic divine whole. So I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it, but there's an incredible author, my favorite, well, one of my many favorites, Brandon Sanderson, The Way of Kings, and he's a fantasy author, and you know, a lot of what he talks about in that is individual lives and people getting trumped up on a lot of ideas of, you know, being cursed, being forgotten about by the divine, being, you know, having life unfair. You know, the truth is that life happens to all of us, you know, and that's very much what he's trying to get at and what Pope's trying to get at, you know, when he says in that excerpt that I read, you know, respecting man, whatever wrong we call, may be right as relative to all. You know, so what we see as instantaneously bad, like, you know, labeling the moments of our life that are definitive as good and bad and good and bad and good and bad is one way to get by. But another way, a different way, perhaps in Pope's sense, the good and the higher way, is to say they are all just the things of life, the things that make up life. And if we don't look at good and bad and, you know, these objective, like black and white terms, but instead look at it as a picture of the whole, and we start to see life as this sort of incredibly humble piece that we are a part of. And, you know, these ideas of the good and bad sort of are less that and more opportunities of life, you know, that they're chances to learn. Like, some of the toughest moments in my life have been some of the greatest turning points for me. they've been some of the greatest points of change for me. And a lot of what Pope is saying is that if you have the humility to accept the good with the bad and stop thinking of your life in relative terms to, well, I'm better than him, but I'm worse than him, so I want to be there and I want to be there. You're just constantly living in the external, and that's dangerous and that's bad. It comes instead from the fact that we are part of a beautiful whole. And, as this ship moves forward, the individual works that we do, we might not see as instrumental or, grandiose in the big sense of it, but we're part of what's making everything go forward every day. And so that's all I have for you for Pope. Trying to keep them a little bit shorter this time, but yeah, I look forward to seeing you again. Later, dinos.